Hello, this is Gist with Jonathan. It is our first show on Elendo TV. It is the first of many to come. On this show, we'll review national and any other issues of great importance to our people and our country. This we'll do through interviews with people of knowledge, top government functionaries, office holders, opinion molders, and most importantly, the common folks. Yes, we shall discuss politics and every other thing. No topic is out of bounds for us. So let's get started. The Fourth Republic was bettered by the military regimes of late General Sani Abacha and General Abdulsalami Abubakar. The Fourth Republic started on May 29, 1999 with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, a former military head of state, taking the oath of office as a civilian president at the Eagle Square, Abuja. Similar ceremonies took place in all the 36 states of Nigeria as governors and their deputies took the oath of office. It was dubbed the beginning of a new era, and Nigerians were very hopeful of a future without the military in government and governance. Since that day in May 1999, the military have largely remained in the barracks, though some elements in their ranks have attempted what would have been called a coup d'etat. Today, almost 27 years after, many Nigerians remember the military era with nostalgia. Is this a democracy? As far as I'm concerned, there is no democracy. These guys stole themselves into offices and act like they are not accountable to anyone. The suffering is so much. Most Nigerians are poor. Even me, I can barely survive. This was the lamentation of a friend of mine who retired as a director a few years ago in one of Nigeria's financial regulatory agencies. We have the paraphernalia of a democracy. The executive, the legislature, the judiciary, all three arms of government compete with their different leaderships in Abuja and the 36 federating states of Nigeria. Yet, in 2026 democratic Nigeria, many feel that we have always operated a unitary system of government rather than a true federal system. No one is in doubt today that all powers derives and drives to the center. The legislature led by Godswill Akpabio, a lawyer, former commissioner, former governor, former senator, former minister, as Senate president, and chairman of the National Assembly is presiding over a rubber stamp body that have surrendered their powers to the executive branch, led by Bola Ahmed Tinubu. President Bola Tinubu, former accountant, former oil company executive, businessman, former governor of Lagos State, and before the presidency, leader extraordinaire of All Progressives Congress, APC. At national events which ought to be non-partisan and non-political, grown men and women, elected and appointed into important offices, engage in the humiliating spectacle of performing a song composed and produced by Nyesom Wike, a lawyer, husband of an appeals court judge, former local government chairman, former chief of staff to the governor of Rivers State, former minister, former governor, and current minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. The last time I watched President Tinubu present the national budget to the National Assembly, so-called honorables and distinguished people engaged in the despicable recital and performance of Wike's mandate song. I saw this shame of a nation repeated last year at an event organized by the Judiciary, where the Chief Justice of Nigeria and other members of the National Judicial Council were present. I expected to read about queries, rebuttals, and firings. None came. Now, before you hurry to express your disgust, look at your state and local government offices. It is happening everywhere. Whether in a PDP, ABGA, Labour, NMPP, NDC state, the same thing is happening. They have abrogated, defiled, and defied democracy. Such is the story of our Fourth Republic, that we have a king or emperor in Abuja, the smaller kings in the 36 state capitals and 774 local government headquarters. The wives, and to a lesser extent, husbands of these excellencies, have been elevated to our mothers and fathers. In Abuja, Remi Tinubu, the wife of President Tinubu, is the mother of the nation. In my state, Abia, Alex Oti's wife is our mother. I know I'm older than this mother of mine because I know her husband, Alex. Let us be honest here. These men and women did not run for offices with intentions of lording it over us. I believe President Tinubu contested for president because he wanted to contribute to building Nigeria, creating a better Nigeria for the citizenry. I do not honestly believe he was hoping to have a minister compose a press song in his honor, or to be continuously extolled by even those who are supposed to oversight his functions and activities, the legislature. Sycophancy is the balm we put on our incompetence, vacuous performance, and opaque response to the ills of society. We deify people above us in hopes that they will overlook our shortcomings as they bask in the glory of our praises. Conversely, we expect those below us to do the same for us. Where they fail, We accuse them of disloyalty, envy, and jealousy. And so the Nigerian politician has learned to survive this way. And a game of survival it is. We, the so-called followers and citizenry, what do? We join in, bide our time in the hopes that someday it will be our turn. Of the three arms of government in the Fourth Republic, the judiciary has been the most disappointing. I would be remiss if I failed to acknowledge that the rot in the judiciary did not start in 1999, or that some institutional difficulties and challenges had not been there before now. Yet, it defies imagination how low the judiciary has sunk in this our nascent democracy. And the common man who feels it the most is the worst for this retardation. Times were when we believed that the judiciary was truly the last hope of the common man. Those days are long gone. Even gets worse by the day. There may have been a time Nigerians believed in the independence of the judiciary. Those days are gone. I had friends whose fathers were judges. We held them in reverence. These were not rich men. They were comfortable. We watched our conducts whenever we were in their presence. In the Fourth Republic judiciary, we have witnessed the Supreme Court rule against its earlier judgments in similar cases with the same set of facts. Judicial precedents have been rubbished to favor certain litigants and interests. I have often wondered if there are people in the institution who can rescue this sinking ship. My friends who are lawyers tell me there are few good men and women in the judiciary, but I'm told such men and women are rarely elevated beyond the high courts these days. The corruption and incompetence of the judiciary is often blamed on politicians. A very senior lawyer who is a friend of mine told me there are certain individuals you dare not take to court. He said it would be madness to take some of these guys to court. There's a minister in Tinubu's government who in the past 25 years have courted judges, from state high courts to the Supreme Court. His friends are everywhere. While they may rule against him in preliminary motions, at the end of the day, he would never lose on substance. When was the last time a chief judge or chief justice of Nigeria told a governor or minister not to buy cars and build houses for judges? When was the last time you heard a judge or judicial official turn down gifts of cars and houses from governors or even the FCT minister? The judiciary and executive are co-equal arms of government. How come one arm accepts gifts of cars and houses from another arm? In what world can you claim independence from someone who gives you houses and cars? It is appalling that our so-called learned people are not astounded by such level of impropriety. The tragedy is that not one judicial officer or prominent lawyer has repudiated this practice, steeped deeply in impropriety and corruption. Nigeria is ranked 142 out of 180 countries in the Corruption Perception Index. In 1999, before the advent of the Fourth Republic, Transparency International named Nigeria the most corrupt nation in the world. General Sani Abacha is reputed to have looted over $25 billion in the 4 years he ruled Nigeria as head of state. For the 11 months transitional period General Abdulsalami Abubakar held sway as head of state, $2 billion was looted from the treasury. There were corruption scandals in the early days of the Fourth Republic. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Salisu Buhari, was forced to resign following a certificate forgery scandal. So was Senate President Evan Enwerem. In 2005, Tafa Balogun, the Inspector General of Police, pled guilty to stealing 10 billion naira belonging to the Nigerian police. He was disgracefully wrestled to the ground by policemen attached to EFCC under the leadership of Nuhu Rabadu, an Assistant Commissioner of Police, and then Chairman of the EFCC. He is today National Security Advisor, NSA, to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The legislature had its share of corruption scandals in the early years of the Fourth Republic. The most dramatic was a member of the House of Representatives and chairman of the committee investigating subsidy fraud, Farouk Lawan. In an obvious sting operation, he was caught on camera collecting money from Femi Otodola, a major player in the oil industry. The camera also captured Farouk stuffing the dollars he collected from Otodola in his cap. Abdul Rashid Maina was accused and convicted of embezzling billions of naira belonging to Nigerian police pension funds. He served jail time after absconding from Nigeria. In 2015, the National Security Advisor to President Goodluck Jonathan was accused of diverting about $2 billion meant for the purchase of arms for troops fighting the Boko Haram insurgency. Colonel Sambo Dasuki, a retired army officer and prince of the Caliphate, is on trial along with his alleged co-conspirators and accomplices. The states have had their fair share of corruption scandals in the Fourth Republic. Some former governors were arraigned and convicted of corruption offenses. There are also the ongoing trials of corruption cases involving states. The first set of former governors to be jailed for corruption are Joel Nyame, Joshua Darie, James Ibori, and Orji Kalu. Kalu's conviction was later overturned. Josiane Alison Madueke, a former Shell executive and former Petroleum Resources Minister in the Goodluck Jonathan administration, is reputed to have stolen more than $5 billion from the Nigerian government. As security men closed in on her, she escaped to the United Kingdom. She is undergoing cancer treatment, as well as trial for corruption at Southwark Crown Court in London. In 2002, President Olusegun Obasanjo signed the EFCC Act into law. The EFCC did not begin operations until April 2003, with police officer Nuhu Ribadu as the pioneer chairman. Many Nigerians celebrated the establishment of the anti-corruption agency. Not too long after, signs started to emerge that Nigerians who had celebrated the establishment of the agency rejoiced too early. It did not take long for evidence to show that this organization had become a tool of coercion in the hands of the government of President Obasanjo. The FCC acted on several occasions beyond its powers in the pursuit of real and perceived enemies of government, using corruption as a cover. It even went as far as providing materials and justifications for the impeachment of state governors who the president perceived as political opponents. The anti-corruption agency had become part of the problems it was meant to solve. Democracy has not done better in most of the 36 states than at the federal level. Governors and their powerful allies in the states have adhered to the dictates of the 1999 Constitution, more in breach. In many states, the Treasury is treated as an extension of the governor's piggy bank. Most notorious violations of the financial and appropriations laws have been the security vote loophole. Governors use it as their spending money and therefore owe no one explanations. I was told of a governor who told a colleague of his that every month his security vote is withdrawn from the state bank account, half deposited to his personal account, and the other half held by his ADC. While the 1999 states the role and duties of deputy governors, in many states they are treated as spare pens placed on huge desks with a retinue of jobless staff. Often, governors travel out of their states and hand over reins of government to their favorite aide or even mistresses. President Olusegun Obasanjo on several occasions handed over government to Dr. Andy Oba, his special assistant on domestic affairs. Naturally, this speculated to the states. Bola Tinubu, Orji Kalu, Murtala Nyako, Aliyu Wamako, and others replaced their deputies more than once. For Tinubu and Kalu, they did it 3 times in two terms of 8 years. Speakers of the states' houses of assembly who opposed their governors for whatever reasons were impeached. To survive, the speakers imbibed the lessons of lapdogs or became canaries to the president. On May 29th, Nigeria will celebrate 27 years of uninterrupted democratic experience. Many argue that we are yet to experience the federal in the name Federal Republic of Nigeria. To this school of thoughts, Nigeria has run more like a unitary government than a representative democracy with constituent parts. They blame Obasanjo for setting the tone with each succeeding president, worsening the situation. I pray that whoever succeeds President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would work assiduously to make Nigeria a true democracy. We are yet to see the dividends of democracy. Our infrastructure is still moribund. Electricity supply has retrogressed from being epileptic to comatose. There is no evidence that human capital development has advanced beyond where it was at the end of Obasanjo's presidency. Insecurity remains a nightmare and in fact have grown multidimensionally. Socially, Nigerians are more divided along tribal and ethnic lines than I have ever known. The Tinubu administration has deepened our parochial tendencies. If President Tinubu wins re-election in 2027, my wish is that he will draw from experiences of the previous 4 years to actually give us what we truly desire in our democracy. That is, enthronement of rule of law, a sound economy, a level playing field for all to thrive according to their talents and strength, not gaining advantage by reason of place and circumstance of birth, and a safe environment where all Nigerians can call home. That really is my renewed hope. That's our show for today. Until we meet again, stay safe and God bless. I am Jonathan Elendo.